Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the daily GSPN Manchester United podcast. I'm your host for today's episode, Sam Brady, and once again, I'm joined by the dynamic duo of Kieran and Tom. Now, boys, let's jump straight into it. If you missed our episode yesterday, we talked a lot about the incomings, Manchester United this summer with, of course, Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, and Benjamin Sesko. Now, boys, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, and Ruben Amorim this summer have talked a lot about this sort of cultural change, and I sort of want to touch on the sort of outgoings or potential outgoings in this first part of the episode. Kieran, we'll start with the more sort of simplistic one in terms of Marcus Rashford. What do you sort of make of how we sort of dealt with the Marcus Rashford situation? And to be honest, Barcelona, it's a perfect move for him, don't you think?
If anything, it's an upgrade, isn't it? I don't understand how he's got an upgrade of a move. Anyway, look, the point is, it's been pretty clear for a while now that Amorim doesn't really want him in the squad, doesn't want him in the side. I know Tom's mentioned before, when you get to him, he doesn't want him in the side anymore. I've got a soft spot for Rashford. I don't particularly want him in the side anymore because I think we can be a better unit without him. He hasn't been performing, and whilst it's hard to let go of talents that have come through the academy, and you've seen them literally in Micah Richards-esque burst onto the scene. Every debut he was scoring a goal, and he managed to get hundreds of appearances for Manchester United, but I don't know what it is. He's 27. He should be statistically in his prime, if you believe all the sports scientists and whatnot. He should be in his prime, and yet now he's on loan to Barcelona. He started off on the right foot in pre-season, scoring a couple of goals, missing an open goal, but I think Barca are about 4 or 5 up by that point anyway, so it didn't really matter. But I think it's the right move. I think for Marcus Rashford, this is a golden opportunity to make an impact at one of the elite clubs in world football, which doesn't make sense when you look at the last 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, upgrade is probably about right, to be honest. Obviously, he was at Aston Villa last season on loan and then came back to us. And yeah, I think, to be honest, he'll thrive at Barcelona. I mean, yeah, they're in a great spot at the minute, Barcelona. And I think it was like I think we spoke off air yesterday about there are a lot of players at the minute where in the past recent seasons where it's about the right time for them to move on. And I think we just got to that point with Marcus Rashford. Obviously, it's sad because he's always going to be sort of our boy. We watched him come through the academy and become such an unbelievable player. But I think it is about right that he moves on now and flourishes, which I believe he will at Barcelona. Now, Tom, on to sort of the more difficult situation in Garnaccio. Almorin's talked about characters is now really important, and it's sort of now going to be a rule going forward. Is Garnaccio sort of evidence of this rule sort of being implemented? Sort of there's rumours of him going out on loan now to Chelsea, and it is clear that he will move on this summer. So yeah, is he just evidence of this change in mentality, really?
Well, I don't even know if he even cares about his football anymore, because it feels like there's other endeavours that he seems to be most interested in. Like, he got his new tattoo the other day. Was he... I don't know if this is true. Was he vaping as well?
Yeah.
I don't know where this guy is at. It feels to me like he's on a different planet to the one that he was when he was in his prime at Manchester United. Garnaccio doesn't know where his ambitions are at. And I don't know where his plans are at. I don't know if he's going to Chelsea. I certainly don't see him being a Manchester United player for any longer. So where is he next going? Is he going back to Spain? Because he was over at Atletico Madrid during his junior career, wasn't he? Before he switched to Old Trafford. I would probably say he might even go to Atletico Madrid. Because, could they be in need of a player like him? Was it Xavi Simon, who I think has been linked with a move to Chelsea? Could that be an opening for Garnaccio to go the the opposite, well, not the opposite direction, but in the direction going to Atletico Madrid, I don't know who else could really go for Garnaccio because he's very, very young. He's got clearly a big ego. And are a side like Atletico Madrid willing to invest in an ego like him? I don't think they should, but we've seen it from Rashford going to Barcelona on loan. It wouldn't surprise me if a club like Atletico Madrid went the same way with Garnaccio.
Yeah, and Tom, is this sort of one of the sort of saddest sort of player outgoings, player sort of disagreements we've had in recent years? Because I mean, Garnaccio, he scored in an FA Cup youth final, scored in the FA Cup final. So where's this sort of come from? And it's quite sad, really, don't you think?
I think his off-field activities have influenced his mindset. I mean, I don't know how often he's been going out in nightclubs. He's probably been up to a fair few, I'd imagine. He's probably met up with a number of people to say, look, you could be good at doing this whilst you're playing for Manchester United. I don't know whether some of the criticism he's been getting from fans before he's been playing matches has put him off. There was an incident, I think it was before we played Leicester at Old Trafford, where a fan confronted Garnaccio outside the stadium, and the way he was criticising him was rather over the top. It was almost like he was trying to coach him when it's never his job to coach him. The man that's coaching him, I think at the time, was Ruud van Nistelrooy when he was interim manager before Ruben Amorim had arrived. I think that may have played a part in Garnaccio's mindset. He should have brushed it off, or at least speak to someone about it and just coach him to shrug off these things. And I don't think he's brushed off these things very, very well, in my opinion, and he's allowed it to really get to his skin. He's certainly not going to be a Manchester United player any longer. I can possibly see him going to Chelsea, but how many players do Chelsea need? And I think when you look at that Chelsea team right now that's going places, do they really need Garnaccio there?
Yeah, I think it's a tough one with Rashford and Garnaccio, and I think it's a similar thing where from out of nowhere, this mentality and this sort of, I don't want to call it arrogance, but it's just, obviously we don't know what goes on from a day-to-day basis, but it's sort of come out of nowhere, and they're not, and Almorin's not the first manager to sort of have disagreements with both players, but I think Almorin's the first manager to sort of confront it and say and sort of let them go if they want to go. I think other managers tried to hang on and tried to really sort of figure out the problem, whereas Almorin, in my opinion, is just not even tried to bother trying to fix the solution. But in some ways, that's a good thing. He said, you know what, if you don't want to play for us, I'm not going to step in your way. And I think comments, Kieran, coming to you from Luke Shaw when he says there's now no longer any stragglers in the group. Do you think he is alluding to sort of the likes of Garnaccio and the Rashfords and even the Antonys, really?
I mean, Luke Shaw himself is a bit of an enigma, isn't he? So I never really know what to sort of make. But it's a weird one. As you've said, that the culture of Manchester United has been for years to nurture young talent. And even if they have an ego, say, we use the age-old example of Cristiano Ronaldo, but you had David Beckham as well, who were young players and tipped for the absolute top echelons of world football, but did have an ego that needed to be tamed. And, was it successful for Sir Alex Ferguson, both with Beckham and Ronaldo? Some would say yes, some would say no. Both of them eventually went to Real Madrid. But the point was that, Manchester United has never been a stranger to taking on players that might have an ego before the talent, but able to develop them as footballers and then as people as well in that way. But I feel like Garnaccio is one of those players, and he's an exciting player as well. He's still very, very young. He's still got his whole career ahead of him. I would love to see Garnaccio turn into, a really good player. I think he still can. But, with youth normally comes the ego. Sometimes you think you are better than what you are right now. And as a youngster, it's so much easier to get into your own head as well when things aren't going so well. It's great when things are going well. It's great when you're scoring in, you say, the FA Cup Youth or the FA Youth Final, the FA Cup Final as well. Great when things are going well. But how's the resilience when things aren't going well? And I think that's the difference that players like Garnaccio are struggling with right now, is that when the bad times are bad, they've been going on for a long time, and that does not help a youngster in the slightest.
Yeah, and the thing is, you said David Beckham and Cristiano Ronaldo. The difference is they backed it up, and that's what fans don't mind. Okay, you can have an ego and you can have an arrogance about you, and yeah, you may have disagreements with the manager, but as soon as you step onto the pitch, that all changes and you back it up on the pitch. I think with Garnaccio and Rashford, what's frustrated fans so much is they've clearly had disagreements and that attitude, and they've clearly had attitude problems, but then that carries over onto the pitch, and they have so many poor games where they don't even look bothered. And as you said, when the things are going bad, they're going really bad, especially for those two players. And the most frustrating thing, I think, is we know they have ability. It's like a similar case with Jadon Sancho, I guess, and even Chelsea fans are feeling that now, where the boy has ability. I mean, he scored in the Conference League final, and he shows glimpses of it. But then in some games, you just see that there's an attitude problem there, and there's a real problem in these players, in the Rashfords, the Garnachos, the Jadon Sanchos, where they can't flick that switch, they can't shift that mentality, and it is a real problem. And look, I think Rashford will switch it around at Barcelona, because that's just what Barcelona do. They switch players' mentality. Look at Luis Suarez. He went from being a bit of a rebel, a bit of a troublemaker on the pitch at Liverpool, and went to Barcelona, no issues at all. And I also think Hansi Flick won't tolerate that either. If you're not up for it at Barcelona, you're sitting on the bench. It's as simple as that. Where I feel like Garnaccio and Rashford in the past couple of years got away with these attitude problems because we had no one else. So they felt like, oh, I can have games off and I'm still going to play next week. So yeah, I think now that Luke Shaw has alluded to that with the no stragglers comment, and obviously the senior figures at the club have said that the culture has changed and is changing. And Tom, is the new building at Carrington, we've seen it be refurbished. Is this sort of perfect timing now, coming into the new season, the cultural change? Is that sort of building on the momentum?
I just wish we can translate the qualities of it onto the pitch. That would be my only thing. But the fact that it's only been built now is kind of worrying, because I don't feel like we are ready for the season that's coming up. I think the first few weeks is going to be more about exploring who can play where and what is the best lineup we can go with. We've got Arsenal, Fulham and Burnley in our opening 3 games before the international break, and then we resume with a trip to City, and then I think it's at home to Chelsea for the next 2 games. So we've got a tricky 5 games coming up, and I expect us to not get a lot out of those 5 games, because I think it's going to take some time before our season gets underway properly.
Yeah, well, Tom alluded to his sort of predictions in the first 5. Kieran, we'll get yours quickly just after this break. We'll be right back.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back to part 2 of the daily GSPN Manchester United podcast. We talked about sort of the cultural change coming into the new season, and Tom alluded to those first 5 fixtures with Arsenal first at Old Trafford. Kieran, I'll come to you first. That Arsenal game, I don't think we could have got a tougher fixture if we asked for it. Your expectations going into this one, obviously, if you cast your minds back, I think maybe 2 seasons ago now, we actually beat Arsenal, I believe 3-1 on that day at Old Trafford. It's a new look Arsenal team. It's a new look Manchester United team. So what are you expecting come Sunday afternoon?
A couple of these from Gyökeres, I reckon. Yeah, it's. I don't know what to make of it. Brand new season. The whole mantra has been, and the whole reason for Amorim coming in is prioritising this summer, is prioritising an entire summer, and pundits alike have said, just give Amorim time, give him, in every international break, this is the perfect time to work on the new system, and the system ended up being 15th. So goodness knows what would have happened if we held firm. But yeah, I have no idea how this is going to go. Arsenal look like they've finally solved their striker problem. If they can keep Gyökeres fit, they're going to be a terrifying prospect this season. I think they have a real chance this season of breaking that, always the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of, form they've been in recently. The last 3 years, second in the league. So they're going to be a very dangerous side, and they've made some great signings, Gyökeres being one of them. I just can't get past that. I really can't. I think he's the missing piece in the puzzle of what is a good Arsenal side. And if they can keep all of their star players fit, they're going to be dangerous. So, Old Trafford awaits. I could wait a couple of weeks. If we could push that fixture somehow back into sort of the mid part of the season, maybe Boxing Day, that'd be great. But then again, I don't really want my Christmas ruined again. So I don't know, is my answer, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much sums up the mindset of a lot of United fans right now, in terms of we literally have no idea what to expect, because I think a lot of the big games last season we actually did turn up. I think it was the games where we were expected to win is where we struggled. And I said, Tom, that we couldn't have asked for a much harder first fixture. I mean, the first 5 are pretty damn hard as well, as you alluded to in part 1, with Arsenal, Fulham, Burnley, City, Chelsea. And as I just said, it's sort of the big games where we sort of turned up. So how important is it to sort of get off to a really good start? And is it sort of almost a good thing that we're getting the important big games out the way first?
Well, we've got these signings that have to gel in first to the team. Is Sesko going to hit the ground running? Is Cunha going to hit the ground running? Is Mboma going to hit the ground running? I would probably say it's going to end up being 2 of those players starting, with the other being on the bench. It's going to be a really, really tough start, I think. I stand by the fact that I don't think this squad is ready, because we don't have a recognised central partnership in midfield. I don't know who will be the best attacking midfielders between Bruno and Mbeumo and Cunha. And we're unsure who will be in between the sticks. Now, Onana's injured at the moment, and it's a bit of a decisive one between Bayindir and Tom Heaton. And I would prefer to have Tom Heaton in goal than Bayindir. But it'll probably be Bayindir in goal for Sunday's game. But it is what it is. But we've had tough starts to the season, of which we recovered from. I mean, if you remember, I think 2014-15, that season where we had no European football, I think it took us until the 4th game of the Premier League season to get our first win, because we lost the first one against Swansea and then drew in the next 2 matches against Sunderland and Burnley. And then we won our first one against Queen's Park Rangers at home. I've managed to remember that very well, actually. All those games. But if we can get off to the best of starts, great. But if we don't, the pressure's going to mount on Amorim, and all of the major outlets, like the likes of Sky and BBC and all that, are going to just keep bringing up this win rate or loss rate as Manchester United manager of Amorim. And it's just, the writing could end up being on the wall for him if we don't get off to the best of starts. And I want Almorin to succeed. Even if we get off to the worst of starts, I would still keep Almorin in there. People have to be patient with this. They can't just expect a new manager bounce, because it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and sorry, Kieran, I was going to come on to you next about what happens if it doesn't go what we hope, the way we hope it goes. But Tom, did I hear that right? You'd rather Tom Heaton in goal than Bayern. Explain yourself.
Well, one is the more experienced goalkeeper, and I just probably give him a chance over Bayern, because Bayern, I think overall wasn't impressive last season. Can it really get any worse than putting Tom Heaton in goal?
Nah, but Tom Heaton had that howler in the, what was it? Was it Hong Kong in pre-season where the shot went through him? So even then, it's a little bit worrying either side. So
and Tom, you're forgetting Bayern's heroics in the FA Cup, my man, against Arsenal. Penalty shootout.
Yes, I do.
I'm going to side with Tom there. Whatever he's going to say, I reckon he's going to be right.
But yeah, no, I mean, goalkeeper issue aside, we've definitely got an issue there. Going back to sort of Almorin and his plan going into this season, what is the plan B, Kieran? Because we all hope it goes really well and we see sort of these differences on the pitch with these new signings. What about if it doesn't? He says the good days are coming. He didn't give us a timeline. So it might not be this season. So what happens if we are December, January time and we're still sort of bottom half of the table? What then?
I don't think there is a plan B. I think this is it. It has to work. We've spent over 200 million in the market now. It has to work. There is no plan B. There can't be a plan B. As we said before, if we manage to finish top half, I think we'd be happy with that. I think we've got some of our followers on social media as well saying, no, we shouldn't settle for top half. Let's go for top four. It's possible with the signings we've made, and it is easy to get swept up in. We've brought in some good signings, world class, no, but good signings that could help us build on a terrible season. Last season happened. No, it's in the bin now. I just worry that there is no plan B, because there can't be. You can't get rid of Almorin in October, November. Now you've committed another 200 million. It would be exactly the same as what happened last season, when Ten Hag was able to spend money to bring in new players, fresh blood into the side, and then got rid of him by October, November. It didn't make sense. It wasted all that money bringing in new signings that Ten Hag specifically wanted, or at least had a say in how they would work in the system, to then get rid of him, have Almorin come in with those particular signings, not really then have a January window, and then just hope for the best until the summer. We cannot do that again. It's not viable, and it cannot work. If we keep doing that, this club will get relegated.
So Almorin safe in your opinion, no matter what happens?
I think so. It's easy to say it now. Let's see what happens in 3 or 4 months. But I think as long as he's within the top half of the table, I think he's more than safe.
Yeah, I agree with you, to be honest. I feel like we saw sort of we can't fall into the Ten Hag trap again, where we just spend all this money and as you said, give him a couple of months and then get rid of him, because it's just a reoccurring cycle. When do we actually sort of commit to a manager and give him time, especially with what Almorin's inherited is probably the worst. Well, statistically, it is the worst it's ever been. So to give him only sort of like 1 season or 1.5 season and sack him would be ridiculous, to be honest. I don't think we're in any danger of that. But Tom, what is the difference this time? Because Kieran just said then, we've spent 200 million, this has to work. But we've sort of said those same words with other managers, with Ten Hag, with Mourinho, where we've spent that amount of money and we've gone into a season saying, right, this is it, this is going to work. So What's the difference this time? And to be honest, if I take my United hat off for 1 second, this is probably a lot of questions sort of rival fans are questioning as well. What is the difference this time?
The difference is that this is the first proper window, I would class, for Almorin for him to spend. Whereas with Ten Hag, he had 2 years. He had 4 transfer windows before, or it might have been 5 actually, before he got the boot. And the fact he kept playing Anthony, who was clearly not fit for purpose for Manchester United, the fact he kept playing him was what got him the sack. With Almorin, he's clearly doing some of the right things right now. We're sorting out this situation with Rashford, Garnaccio, Sancho and all that, but that's obviously being sorted out behind closed doors at the moment. We know the situation with Rashford for now, at least. It's who else is going to be heading for the door. That would be my concern.
Yeah, I mean that's always a concern, and I think out of the sort of 5 at the back end of last season, obviously only one has officially departed in Marcus Rashford at the minute. So we expect Garnaccio, links obviously to Chelsea. Malacia is probably a near done deal as well. It's really just Sancho and Anthony that we haven't really heard any rumours of as of yet. I mean, and to be honest, I expected Betis would do all they can to try and keep Anthony. So, but I haven't really heard anything coming out of them just yet. In terms of, go on,
I was going to say, Sam, the reason probably is the wages.
Yeah,
like no club is going to approach Sancho or Anthony with the wages they're on. The only reason that Sancho moved to Chelsea was because they were able to at least pay his wages. With Betis, it was a broker deal, if you like, a partial wage, maybe even no wage. I don't really know, but there would have been some agreement to say we won't pay all his wages. And this would be the same with Rashford going to Barcelona, because Barcelona know that we want Rashford out, or we want him out at least on loan for now, because again, we can't move him on because of the wages he's on. So, the club in its past has really shot itself in the foot in trying to move this talent on, because no one in their right mind right now would even come close to paying those wages.
Yeah, and I think it comes back also to a player mentality as well. I mean, Jadon Sancho, look, he won the Conference League with Chelsea. He could have stayed and won the Club World Cup, but instead he wasn't willing to take a wage cut, and now he's back at a United club that won't play him. And it's probably a similar thing with Anthony, where again got to the final of the Conference League, was banging them in for Betis, but instead of taking a wage cut, he comes back. So in my mind, and as I said, we don't know the ins and outs, but that screams of a player's mentality where they'd rather just sit in the reserves getting paid than going out and playing football. Yes, on less money, but playing football. And that's where I sort of look, Rashford, we've talked about his mentality, but he clearly does still want to play football. He went out on loan to Villa last season. He's now gone out on loan to Barcelona. So whatever his mentality is in terms of Manchester United, his mentality in just playing football in general, I don't think has changed. I think he loves playing football, but I think he fell out of love playing football for Manchester United by the end of it. So yeah, I mean, we've talked about the cultural change. I think one sort of mentality and attitude that I think even within rival fans, and now we sort of get a glimpse with it within players' mentality and how they see Manchester United, is sort of we're always a club that no matter how bad we've been, we're still in contention to win trophies. And I think Benjamin Sesko choosing United over Newcastle United showed that even players think that they have more of a chance now winning trophies at Manchester United than the likes of Newcastle, for example. So is that a sort of silver lining to such a horrible season, Kieran, we had last season, where we're still at the top of the food chain, if you like, in terms of pulling power when signing players?
Are we? I mean, Gyökeres went to Arsenal. You know, if we're linked with Donnarumma, I see him going more to Chelsea than to Manchester United. I think there is pulling power. I don't think there's as much as it was 10 years ago. I mean, you know, just as the way as we've been performing. And what doesn't help is no Europe. So, you know, there will be players out there who will not come to Manchester United now because there is no continental competition. So it's very easy to go spiraling into this downward spiral. Well, first there's no Europe, then so the players don't come, and because the players don't come, you go further down the league, and because you're further down the league, players still won't want to come. You just get into that vicious cycle. So the fact that we do have Sesko is a good sign, you know, and Burmo coming in, Cunha coming in, they're coming in from, well, you would have said in the past, from clubs lower down the order. Actually, one of them's much higher up the order. One's round about the same. But hopefully they'll bring in a little bit of quality back into the side and hopefully push us back up the table.
Then I'll put the question back to you then, Kieran. Then what's it down to? We had our worst season in the club's history. We have no Champions League football. Whereas in comparison to Newcastle, they won their first trophy in about 70 years, I think. They're in Champions League, and yet we managed to sign Benjamin Sesko. So what is it down to?
I think it's going to be consistency. I think something that Newcastle have, you know, they've entered a 70-year drought of a trophy, and good for them, because it was great to see them win the trophy, even from a Manchester United point of view. It was nice for someone else to win the League Cup if it wasn't going to be us, and that's got them Europe. But I think that what they've shown is that once they get that Europe, you know, when they were in the Champions League the first time for years, they then dropped off league-wise, and you know, they then got without Europe. So I think the inconsistency of where they're in Europe, they're out, they're going to shake it all about, kind of has a foot in whether a player will want to go there or not. Now, as to why so many players have rejected Newcastle, that could probably be an investigative episode all on its own. I can't explain why so many players are outright rejecting Newcastle, but I have a feeling one crumb of it maybe because of the inconsistent, you know, finishing results. There's a sense of progress and then a step back for Newcastle. This seems like progress. If they can build on this success this season, then you'll have players, you know, perk their ears up and look to a Newcastle project. But where it's so inconsistent, one step forward, another step back, and so on and so forth, it kind of is, you're stuck in that uncertainty, and players don't like uncertainty. They like continental competition, and they like it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, I always hear Newcastle fans bang on about this project, but they're the only ones who believe in the project. I mean, this summer they've signed Anthony Elanga and Aaron Ramsdale. I mean, they're good players, but they're not sort of players who would take you to that next level, and their best player wants to leave. So the thing is, when the Sesko sort of transfer debacle was going on, I actually was very confident that he would choose United, because not only I think money is a big factor. I think we're paying him more wages, but we are a bigger club and we have more potential to sort of win trophies. I mean, Newcastle have won their first trophy in 70 years, but when's their next trophy going to come? We're in the worst season we've ever had, and we still got to a Europa League final. So that sort of says where the difference still is between the two clubs. And I still think, and I stand by this, United are probably still the biggest club in England, and we're at where we are right now. So I still feel like people are going to sign for us because we're Manchester United. And yes, of course, if Man City potentially or Liverpool came in for Sesko, that'd be a bit different. But when we're competing for the likes of against the likes of Newcastle, and to be honest, even if a Spurs came into Sesko, I still feel like I'd choose us over Spurs. So it is one of them where I still feel like we still have that pulling power, and hopefully if we do sort of improve massively to where we were last season, I feel like we can sort of get to where we want to be quicker than the likes of Newcastle. So I don't really see this whole confusion over why he chose us over Newcastle, to be honest. But yeah, as we've talked about a lot this episode, it is that sort of cultural change. And although some things never change, I believe in terms of the size of our club and the pulling power we have. But that will do it for this episode. Of course, thanks to our sponsors over at Zencaster. Of course, here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time sort of selecting our delivery platform, and Zencaster claim out the clear winner with 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start your own podcast that sounds great and is delivered effectively. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencaster. Kieran, Tom, it's been amazing once again. I'm getting used to us three being on episodes now. It's quite fun debating all things incomings and outgoings. But from us at GSPN Daily Manchester United Podcast, it's goodbye.